Welcome to the Face the Music podcast. What is up, everybody? My name is Matt, and I'm your host. Welcome to episode number 7. As always, we'll check out this week's top songs of the week, get into some music news, some show announcements, including the first bands announced for the MGR Fest 2025, and special guest Rob Moon of the Verse podcast. You ready? Let's do it. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome to week number 7. Did you have a good week? You find any new bands or go to any live shows? You check out any new music? Well, let me know if you did. I would love to hear about it. So for those who don't know, last week I sat down with Rob Moon of the Verse podcast. I set it up to record on Zoom since my phone tends to run out of storage whenever I try to record long videos on it, and I figured that would be fail-safe since I've used it before, right? Sat with Gunther. 2.5 hour long interview, and I had no issues whatsoever. Was able to download it pretty much right away as soon as the conversation was done. So I thought that this would be pretty fail-safe to go into again. Set everything up. Staged the room, started the Zoom call. Rob was here with me. We were just recording on Zoom. And we talked for over 3 fucking hours. It was a long but great conversation. We talked about so much stuff. Turns out the entire thing never recorded. So we were both pretty bummed out about that. I spent a good portion of Friday morning talking to Zoom to try to figure out what had happened, and they didn't have an answer for me. So that's why last week aired so late, because I was trying to see if there was a way that I could squeeze this in last minute and just do some quick editing, throw it up. But no, unfortunately, that was not the case. So Rob and I, we sat together again, and you will hear that interview later on in the show. On top of that, this week we have a special edition of this week's Top 10. We have some music news, some show announcements. I have the first 2 band announcements for MGR Fest taking place this July. I have a pretty stacked show for you guys today, so let's get into it. This episode can be found on Spotify and YouTube, and you can find the links to all episodes on my social media. If this is your first episode of the Face the Music podcast, welcome to the family. I am very happy that you found your way here. And if you're returning, I thank you for coming back. Thank you for listening, and thanks for joining me once again for another episode of the Face the Music podcast. I appreciate you. I value your time and support that you give me every single week, and I don't take that for granted, nor will I ever. Whether this is your first episode or your 7th, I do kindly ask you to please spread the word. I cannot do this by myself, guys. I shout out a lot of people. I really try to spread the word about a lot of these really great bands that I'm finding or that I know about. I just want you guys to be exposed to as well. So please, if you see the post, just share the post. It takes 2 seconds. It's the most free and easy way to support either myself or these bands. Just follow them, share, like, whatever. It all does make a difference, whether you want to believe that or not. So you don't have to go out and buy the shirt or go see the show, even though we want you to. But something as small as a like or a follow is enough, truth be told. And if you do share any of my posts, tag me. I want to know. I want to see. And, I'll shout you out for it and whatever. But make sure you tag me, tag the bands, whoever, whatever. That's how this whole thing really works. If you are watching and you're interested in being a guest, hit me up. I'm always looking for bands, musicians, other podcast hosts or promoters, or people who just live rock and metal that want to come on and talk. Let's set it up. Don't be shy. I don't bite. Everyone seems to have fun when they come on the show. All right, guys. So this week's top 10, it's going to be a little bit different. It's actually a kind of a fun concept. John Gunther, who you might remember, episode 2, we talked for a while. So if you tuned into that one, I appreciate you. But I know that me and John both really appreciate you tuning in. He inspired me to do something actually kind of cool. He suggested a song to me. That was it. Just suggested a song for this week's top 10. You'll hear that song in a few minutes, but it made me think. I do know a lot of people in podcasting or in bands or journalism, so let's see who they would suggest too. Let's see if we can find out about some awesome new bands that I've never heard of before, or maybe bands that may be new to you as well, or just let's get to know these people a little better. Let's see what they're listening to on the day-to-day. So today, I have suggestions from a few friends of mine that I'm very excited to share with all of you, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them as well. I also dropped a few picks of my own in there. So the local bands I picked, I threw a fun one in towards the end too. It's a brand new song. But this week, the bands we're going to hear from are The Stitched Up. We're going to hear from Polaris, Iron Maiden, The Haunted, Nothing More, Cro-Mags, Catatonia, Resist the Temptation, Farsight, and Earthside. As always, you're going to hear all of the clips from the top 10 on Spotify, but unfortunately, YouTube snitches if you want to upload music. So if you are watching on YouTube, I'm sorry, the clips won't be featured, but not to worry, YouTube. You can always listen to the full songs on the Face Music Top 10s playlist over on Spotify. The code is going to be at the end of the top 10, and it's also in the link that's on all of my socials. Let's jump in. At number 10 this week, we have The Stitched Up. The Stitched Up is one of many projects by today's guest, Rob Vesta. Rob's a drummer, a guitarist, a vocalist. He does everything. He's extremely talented. He also hosts the Verse podcast, which you'll hear more about later on in the show. The Stitched Up is a metalcore band from Long Island, New York that started back in 2019 from the remnants of other bands that unfortunately had split. But through darkness comes light, right? Well, these guys rip, so I'd say it turned out for the better. This band also features Tom, CEO of Moongroove Records, on vocals. He also fronts the band Soul Searcher. Shout out Soul Searcher. His wife Jenny on bass, Alex Krauss on rhythm guitar, Joe DeMeo on lead guitar, and of course Rob himself on drums. This song comes from their 2021 EP, Visit to the EP, which would be the band's only release so far, and I hope we get more at some point because this group of people is undeniably talented. This song reminds me a lot of early Avenged Sevenfold. I would say like Waking the Fallen era. Just old school down and dirty metalcore. I hope you enjoy this. This is The Stitched Up with I Am the King Now. At the number 9 spot this week, we have Cro-Mags. This came in as a suggestion from Tyler Bugliol, drummer of Violet, Electrocutioner, and most notably, legendary thrash band Prong. Tyler is one of the most masterful drummers that I've ever had the pleasure of not only witnessing, but creating music with. He's been playing since he was a kid, and he works his ass off to be where he is. Pay attention to what he does in his career. He will be a household name one day. Tyler has a very diverse taste in music. He is, of course, a metalhead, but I've also never seen someone lose their shit harder than when Every Time We Touch by Cascada comes on either. Tyler suggested Malfunction by Cro-Mags. This song came out in 1986 off the album The Age of Quarrel, which is probably about 20 years before Tyler was even fucking born. I knew about who the Cro-Mags were before this week, but I never really listened to their music. They have an extremely raw, unpolished, and unapologetic balls out sound about them. They've also influenced a lot of people in the hardcore metal scene, including Lamb of God vocalist Randy Blythe, Killswitch Engage vocalist Jesse Leach, and bands Power Trip, Leeway, Rest in Peace Eddie, Agnostic Front, and many more. Cro-Mags are still around and kicking ass. At number 9, this is Cro-Mags with Malfunction. Number 8 this week is Long Island locals Resist the Temptation. Resist the Temptation was formed in 2018, features lead vocalist Sandy B, bassist Katie Danielson, Dylan Frantine on guitar, and Phil Renna on drums. The alt-metal quartet has been buzzing in the Long Island scene as of late with the release of their new song, Hypnotized. This is a pummeling, mid-tempo banger of a song, and Sandy's vocals are hauntingly beautiful. You can feel the emotion, and it absolutely reminds me of a Fallen era Evanescence. It's heavy, it's melodic, it's well written, and very well arranged. This band has so much potential, and I feel like even though it's been 7 years since their inception, they are only just getting started. I'm so unbelievably excited for them. I can't wait for the next release. At number 8 this week is Resist the Temptation with Hypnotize. At the number 7 spot this week comes in as suggested by Rob Festa. We just heard his band at number 10, and get excited because we are this much closer to the interview with the man himself. If anybody knows Rob, you know his favorite band is Iron Maiden. Now, I will say, if you're unfamiliar with Iron Maiden, you need to pause the episode right now. Go listen to them and then come back. Don't worry, I'll wait. I'll still be here. Iron Maiden are one of the pillars of the metal world, and I think it can be safely summed up to Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Metallica, and Black Sabbath. A quick history lesson on the band, because you should already know who they are. Iron Maiden has been around for over 50 years at this point. They started all the way back in 1975. They're historians, they are storytellers, they're visionaries, and one of the absolute greatest bands of all time. The band has so many hits over the course of their 17 studio albums, including The Trooper, The Number of the Beast, Where Eagles Dare, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Wasted Years, Hallowed Be Thy Name, Aces High, Run to the Hills. The list goes on forever. My personal favorite song from this band is The Wicker Man off the album Brave New World. Now, from iconic songs to an absolutely iconic mascot, Eddie, Iron Maiden are more than sewn into the fabric of metal history. Today, Rob's pick comes off of the 1981 album Killers, featuring original singer Paul Di'Anno, rest in peace, Paul. At number 7, this is Iron Maiden with Purgatory. Number 6 this week, we have Long Island metalcore band Farsight. Farsight started out in 2021, but they were absolutely no strangers to the scene. Formerly My Sword and Shield, these guys rebranded and relaunched as Farsight. The band consists of brothers Devin and Dylan Dijon on guitar and bass, Matthew Fischetti on guitar, David Bradley on drums, and Sean Ragubir on vocals. The band takes aim at doing something different with their music. They are metalcore, but they also introduce elements of djent into their music as well, which creates a very bouncy and groovy sound. Their music also includes electronic elements in the background, which really does make a huge difference in the overall sound. It's a small little finesse that just adds so much. It broadens the song up. Now, on May 31st of last year, the band released their most recent EP entitled Hypoxia, a 6-song ass kicker that truly defines what this band is all about. The number 6 song of this week comes off of that EP. At number 6, this is Farsight with Limbo. Taking this week's number 5 spot, we have a band suggested to me by my good friend Andrew of the Sauce Podcast, your home for all things professional hockey. Now, if you were not aware, I love hockey. It's my favorite sport next to football. I am, of course, a cursed lifelong fan of the New York Islanders, as painful as that's become. But I love the fact that there's a local podcast to listen to that loves the game even more than I do. Andrew and I used to work for the same company. I met him about 4 years ago when we were both on break together, and I noticed that he was wearing an Avatar jacket. No, not Avatar the Last Airbender, Avatar the Swedish metal band. I am a huge Avatar fan, and I had not actually met anybody else who was also just as big of a fan as me, or really even knew the band. Andrew and I have very similar taste in music, and that became more evident through the years as we got to know each other better. I knew asking him to suggest a song for this week's top 10, I was going to get a solid response. Andrew suggested the band Nothing More. Now, I've known about Nothing More for a pretty long time now. They are absolutely fantastic. So if you don't know them, please go check them out. You will not be disappointed. They have been around for, give or take, 22 years. They became more well-known around 2009. Had their first major breakthrough in 2014 with their self-titled album. This album had hits such as This Is the Time, Here's to the Heartache, and Jenny. This launched the band to the next level, and they would go on to become one of the hottest names in the industry with an absolutely must-see live show. It is actually incredible what these guys can do live. In the following years, they would release The Stories We Tell Ourselves in 2017, Spirits in 2022, and their latest release, Carnal, in 2024. The song Andrew picked for us today is off of Carnal, and it features Eric of I Prevail. At number 5, this is Nothing More, House on Sand. Number 4 song of the week this week was suggested to me by my friend Nika Rogers. Nika is the owner, writer, and interviewer at MetalNation.com. Nika frequently interviews some of the biggest names in this genre. Within the last few months, she's interviewed The Halo Effect, Bumblefoot, Brandon of Bleeding Through, Kyle of the Sword, Alien Weaponry, Arch Enemy, Lauren Babick, and Tetrarch, just to name a few. Now, Nika knows her shit when it comes to metal music. She's extremely knowledgeable and well-versed and has the resume to prove it. So, to me, it was a no-brainer to ask Nika to suggest a song for the top 10 this week, and she did not let me down. Nika suggested a band to me that I had heard of plenty of times, but never really heard. The band is Catatonia. Catatonia, for those who were unaware like myself, is a band from Stockholm, Sweden, formed in 1991, originally started as a death metal band, and after 2 albums of harsh vocals, the singer Jonas Rensky could no longer perform screams due to issues with his vocal cords. Stylistically, the band was also changing due to new influence in their music as well, which saw the band shy away from death metal and also lean into a more melodic metal sound. This band has had a long list of previous members through the years, but one name that most metalheads are going to be the most familiar with is Mikael Ackerfeldt of Opeth, who also had a very similar path in his music, starting out as a melodic death metal band and eventually finding new roots in a more prog metal sound. Catatonia is set to release their new album, Nightmares as Extinctions of the Walking State, on June 6th, 2025. This song is the first single off of that album, which actually came out yesterday. At number 4 this week, courtesy of Nika Rogers, we have Catatonia with Lilac. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at our top 3 songs of week 7. Taking the number 3 spot this week, suggested by the man who started this entire concept for this week's top 10, a suggestion made by my brother in metal, John Gunther. Gunther was the first guest that I ever had on this podcast all the way back in week 2. He has been so unbelievably supportive of this since the very idea of doing this podcast was a thing, well before episode 1 was even recorded. And 7 weeks in, it is unwavering. Gunther is a multi-instrumentalist, and he is good at every single thing that he does. He's an incredible drummer, guitarist, vocalist, songwriter. He has a project he's been releasing music through the last few years entitled Gunther. I featured his song Lucid Dreams on the week 2 top 10, so please go check that out. It is a banger of a song. And you could also find the full song on the top 10's playlist on Spotify. Gunther hit me up over the weekend and said for consideration for the next top 10 and sent me a song by the Australian metalcore band Polaris. For those unaware of who Polaris is, they've been around since 2012, so about 13 years now. They released their debut album, The Mortal Coil, in 2017, which had the hit that introduced me to the band, The Remedy. The band has developed so much as musicians and songwriters since then, and they are steadily on the rise. The band just announced their UK and European tour dates for 2025, as well as 3 shows with Slipknot and Motionless in White in Germany this June. Shows with A Day to Remember and a co-headliner with our number 5 band Nothing More also set on their schedule. Polaris is set to have a monster 2025. Now, back in 2023, Polaris released their album Fatalism. The album is the 4th release by the band, and I'm hoping that after their 2025, they take some time for a new album after a much-needed rest. I can't wait to hear what comes next for this band. They are slowly taking over the world. At number 3 this week, we have Polaris off the album Fatalism, suggested by my dude, John Gunther. This is Dissipate. Number 2 this week, I have a band that has been around since 1996. A band out of the metal capital of the world, as so many other bands of this week have been, Sweden. More specifically in this case, Gothenburg, Sweden. A band that formed after two brothers left a legitimately iconic melodeath band to form this one. I am talking about The Haunted. The Haunted came to be after brothers Anders and Jonas Bjorler and drummer Adrian Erlandson left At the Gates in 1996, and very quickly after formed The Haunted. The Haunted released their self-titled debut in 1998 and has since then released 9 studio albums and has their newest album, Songs of Last Resort, coming out May 30th of this year. In 2014, Anders would leave the band and would then be replaced by YouTuber and entrepreneur Ola England. Aside from YouTube, Ola is very successful. He owns Solar Guitars, which are some of the best guitars in production. He's a producer and former guitarist of the band 6 Feet Under. The first time I ever heard The Haunted was on the 2005 Ozfest DVD. Their song Bury Your Dead was featured. And I bought the DVD solely for Trivium, if you can believe that, right? I got exposed to so much good music. Soilwork was also on that DVD. The Haunted was a standout on that DVD for me, and after all these years, they're still going. They just released a brand new song a couple days ago called Warhead. This is the first single off of that new album I had mentioned earlier, Songs of Last Resort. At number 2 this week, this is The Haunted with Warhead. Coming in at your number 1 song of week 7. This game suggested to me by my good friend Pat Keenan, who hosts the Rat-Exclusive podcast. Pat has been in broadcasting longer than I have even known him, and I met Pat probably close to 18 or 19 years ago now. When we met, Pat was hosting this college radio show at Farmingdale State College in the afternoons, and we met through a mutual friend. Pat used to be extremely involved in local music, hosting nothing but local bands on his show, interviewed only locals, really gave them a voice. Pat interviewed me and my old band Logan's Room a few times, and it was always fun. And it felt good having someone believe in us the way that Pat did. He was our guy. He always featured our music, always wanted to talk about us, told everyone he knew about us. Pat, you're the fucking man, dude. And whether he knows it or not, Pat is a part of the inspiration for me starting my own podcast all these years later with the focus on local music. Recently, Pat restarted the Rat-Exclusive, but with a different angle. It isn't really just musicians anymore. He's opened it up to really anything and everything. Athletes, musicians, it's an open-ended show. But if there's anybody out there that I trust when it comes to music, it is undoubtedly Pat. When I asked him to suggest a song for this week, he had mentioned this band out of Connecticut called Earthside. He had mentioned them to me in the past plenty of times, and I've heard some of their stuff, but the song that he picked, I had never heard before. Earthside has been around for a long time now. Their debut, A Dream in Static, came out in 2015. 8 years later, they released the follow-up, Let the Truth Speak. On February 12th of this year, they also released a brand new single entitled Frozen Heart, Burning World. Now, this band is proggy, they are heavy, they are melodic, they are the whole package. Your number 1 song for week 7, as suggested by Pat the Rat Keenan, host of the Rat-Exclusive. This is Earthside with the title track off of their 2023 release. This is Let the Truth Speak. as always, you can check out the full songs on the Face Music Top 10s playlist on Spotify by either searching or scanning the code that's on your screen now. And please go check out everything that I had mentioned today. All these great people work so hard. Please check out the Sauce Podcast, the Rat Exclusive Podcast, MetalNation.com, the Verse Podcast. Check out Electrocutioner, Violet, and of course Prong. Go listen to Gunther's music on Spotify. Please support my friends. My friends in bands, if you have a show coming up, a new single, album, or EP dropping, please let me know. I want to do my part in making sure your music gets heard and your band gets seen. But if you don't tell me, I won't know about it, so please reach out. Alright everybody, we got some show announcements to talk about. Now by the time this airs, it will be show day, but I'm still going to shout it out. Tonight, City Sound Studios in Ronkonkoma, New York, it is the Robert and Mickey Birthday Bash. Robert is in the band Dead Within Days, but they will not be performing at this show. He also works with Moongroove Records, who booked and is hosting the show. Mickey is in the band In Lucid Dreams. Other bands playing tonight are Dara, Ronan, The Phoenix and the Raven, and Prey Upon. Doors are at 6:30, tickets are $18. Happy birthday, boys. Have a great time. Tomorrow night, April 12th, Traders comes to Amityville Music Hall with support from Path We Choose and Resistor. I'm super excited for this show. I'm so glad that I can be there for it. If you see me, please come say what's up. I haven't been to a show in a bit. I want to say it's probably been a year or more since I've been able to get out to one. So pull up, let's have a beer. 1 week later, April 19th, Moongroove Records is hosting Path We Choose and a local headline show at Shaker's Pub in Oakdale, New York. Also featuring Summon the Plague, Hostile Intent, The Skags, Halfway Through Monday, and Scrick. 6 p.m. doors, 21 and up, and tickets are $15. May 24th, start of Memorial Day weekend, we have yet another fantastic night of metal featuring Uchikatsu, Patterns of Decay, and Tethered. This is going to be at City Sound Studios in Ronkonkoma, New York, also featuring Graveborn from Massachusetts, Cytokine from New Hampshire, and Soul Mirror. I hope by now you're following Moongroove Records. If you are not, please go follow them as soon as possible. Moongroove Records has officially announced MGR Fest 2025. This event is going to be absolutely massive. July 26th, Moongroove Records hosts MGR Fest 2025. This event will take place at Uber Geek Brewing in Riverhead, New York. This is going to be like a Long Island version of Warped Tour. The whole thing kicks off at noon. It's going to feature local artists from Long Island, touring acts from out of state. There's going to be plenty of vendors, activities, games, food trucks, and so much more. $25 buys you admission to this if you buy ahead of time. It's $30 at the door, so make sure that you save yourself some cash and buy early. That extra $5 could be merch, could be a beer, could be anything you want it to be. Save the money, buy early. Let's sell this thing out, guys. It's going to be a very, very cool event, and the whole team at Moongroove is working their asses off to make sure that this is the best event on Long Island this summer. You better believe I'm going to be there bright and early. I'm probably going to be one of the first people online. I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to experience this. It's been such a long time since Long Island has had such a cool event happen. This past Monday, Moongroove announced the first band performing at MGR Fest, and I'm happy to announce that here after the fact. I told you guys I will not take traction away from Moongroove Records. So, on Fridays, I will give you the announcements, but when they announce it on their page, I want you to go to their page, okay? Deal? The first band announced for MGR Fest 2025 is, can I get a drum roll, please? Farsight. These guys were your number 6 in this week's top 10. They are one of Long Island's best metal bands. They're going to fuck shit up on July 26th. Special bonus. Band number 2 was released probably an hour or so right before I started recording this. So I have a bonus for you guys. Band number 2 playing the inaugural MGR Fest is Ringside Tonic. These guys are straight feel-good vibes. They're a Long Island indie rock, extremely talented band, and I cannot wait to see what they do. Next announcement has been made by the time that this airs, so you'll hear about that next week. In the meantime, like I said before, don't wait for me to tell you. I love the fact that you're listening to this. I want you to listen to this, but the guys that are working the hardest right now, Moongroove Records, these guys are doing everything they can to bring it to you. Go follow Moongroove Records. They tell you when they're going to announce. They post up multiple times a day. They're great. They're definitely a page you want to follow if you love your Long Island metal scene like I do. Please go follow them. You'll hear from me, the bands, every Friday. Like I said, I'm running in circles here, but go to the source, okay? This week in music news, Metallica is to host early screenings of their new documentary, Metallica Saved My Life, directed by Jonas Åkerlund. Åkerlund has worked with the band on multiple occasions on multiple music videos, such as Man Unkind, most recently, Whiskey in the Jar, and Turn the Page. The documentary explores the world of Metallica through the eyes of the fans and the community that surrounds the band. The film will be screening in the locations that the band will be playing this summer. It should be said, though, the film is not complete. So, this is only a pre-screening. If you cannot go, don't worry. The film is set for a full release later this year. I'll be honest, I personally have never considered going out of state solely to watch a movie till now, because Metallica did legitimately save my life. So much so, that's why they are tattooed on my arm forever. I'm considering it, but I'm probably going to wait. I would rather see the full thing than 3/4 of it, you know? But hey, all my Long Island Metallica fans, let's make it a thing. Let's go check this movie out together when it gets the full release, all right? Next up, we got our boy, Tim Lambesis is back in the news. This guy really cannot stop digging the fucking hole. First, former As I Lay Dying and Unearthed guitarist Ken Susi did an interview recently where he exposed Lambesis for abusing his wife in Ken's own home. He said that Tim and his wife were in town getting tattoos, and Ken offered to have them stay at his house so they didn't have to get a hotel. It's very courteous and generous, and I think that we would all do the same for a friend. Ken stated that Tim and his wife entered his house in the middle of the night. They get into a disagreement. Tim ends up spitting on his wife and freaked out. Ken said that he threw a fit, and it's something that he has never seen someone do before. Naturally, this woke Ken's wife up, as most people would when there's a fucking lunatic screaming in their house. Ken went to Tim's wife and asked what happened, and she told him, and Tim basically, he screwed himself. Ken has security cameras all around his house, and when he checked the cameras, it fully corroborated Tim's wife's story, and Tim and his wife were asked to leave the house immediately. This is what led to Ken and the rest of the band to quit As I Lay Dying. Now, secondly, there's a part 2 to the Tim Lambesis is a piece of shit story. There's an online petition to have Lambesis investigated for animal cruelty. Thousands of people have already signed. The goal is 70,000 signatures, and for what I saw, they are pretty close to getting there. This petition comes as a result of a video surfacing back in January that shows Lambesis mistreating his dog, getting physically upset with the animal because it wouldn't go outside. As a lover of the puppers in this world, you don't deserve a beautiful creature, literally man's best friend, if you're going to express anything but love towards that. I sincerely hope the dog shit all over the house after that. And you know what? Tim should be investigated. He should be put back in jail. He should be forced to be rehabilitated. And he should be forced to live his life under surveillance, because he can't treat an innocent animal correctly. He can't treat people correctly, especially those who know his past and looked aside and gave him second, third, fourth chances. This guy is never going to be anything more than a has-been who blew his second chance at life. Now, on the other side of animals and metal singers, Alex Terrible, vocalist of Slaughter to Prevail, adopted 2 bear cubs, Harley and Cody. To put it bluntly, this is absolutely adorable, and it is the single most wholesome thing I think I might have ever heard. Respect animals, my friends. Love them. Do not abuse them. And Alex will be releasing bear cub merch to help raise his new cubs, so keep an eye out for that. To cap off our music news, this crazy shit came out about an hour ago. Jillian Lauren, the wife of Weezer bassist Scott Schreiner, was shot by the police and booked for attempted murder in LA. What the fuck? According to TMZ, LAPD were looking for someone involved in a hit and run back on April 8th. 3 suspects were at the scene, and all 3 fled, one of which was on foot. The police were looking in the yard of Lauren's neighbor, and Lauren came out of the house armed with a gun. The cops, of course, warned her to drop the weapon, and when she refused, she ended up aiming at the officers, and they shot her in the shoulder and took her into custody. She surrendered after 30 minutes. She was treated for non-life-threatening injuries, and she was booked for attempted murder. She was not even a suspect. However, she did advance to the next round of the Fuck Around and Find Out World Games. This week, I have a very special guest. He's the drummer for the bands The Stitched Up, As Levees Break, and They Fell in Glory. He is a musician, he is a writer, he is a storyteller. He hosts his own podcast through Moongroove Records called The Verse. It is my absolute pleasure to have on the show Mr. Rob Moon Festa. I'm sitting here with Rob Moon of The Verse Podcast. Say hi, Rob.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me, Matt.
Anytime, man. Welcome. This is the Face of Music Podcast. And Rob, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
So yeah, I'm Rob Moon. I play multiple instruments. I started out as a drummer. I eventually picked up guitar and bass as well because I consider myself a songwriter and a storyteller first and foremost. That's like everything comes second to that. And so I play drums in the Stitched Up and Active Aggression. I also have a project where I do everything called Go City Limits. That's my own personal music. I have a project called They Fell in Glory that I record remotely with my buddy down in Florida. Shout out to Ben. And I have a podcast I've been doing with Joel from Dead Within Days called Compost Universe that kind of, the goal is talking about how all of that is connected, and what we've been trying to do is get more people to come on the cast, representatives of different bands, different solo artists. It doesn't even have to be just music, just different creatives. What we've been trying to do is get people to sit down with us, and I want to hear about what kind of lore, what kind of storytelling, any kind of concepts, themes, any of that that's present in the music or whatever they're working on. We're trying to find connections between what's already going on in world, what I have going on with a bunch of these projects and what they have going on. And that's been the goal of the Verse Podcast, is to build that out further, you know.
Very cool. So with the Verse Podcast, you said you're drawing connections and parallels between yourself and then other bands, musicians, storytellers, right?
Yes.
Now, out of the guests you've had on so far, have you had any connections drawn that you've noticed, or are you still trying to work them through?
I think the biggest one's Donner.
Okay.
Yeah, we just had Dan Walsh from Donner and the Devil on like 2 weeks ago, and he gets it. Yeah. That dude just gets it. I think we started talking on Threads. He just my buddy Sean Sun from Stitched Up, who he was like, dude, you would like Threads. Check out Threads. So I started fucking around, posting some random shit. I like stuff me and my girlfriend painted, little videos of me jamming with people, stuff I'm recording, whatever. I was just like, fuck it, I'll just share some of it. And you start getting artists musicians in your algorithm.
Cool.
And one of the people that starts commenting on my shit and I'm commenting on his shit is Donner and the Devil. And I'm seeing the shit he's doing. I'm like, this is crazy. And like, I posted something about a book that I had been writing. And I was like, I finally finished this. I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put it, how I'm going to get this thing published, and a little thing of what it's about. The book's called Elsewhere, and it's a diary through the afterlife. I wrote a passage every day for a year, and basically it's the main character of my story that I've been telling for a long time. It's after his death, and he is kind of like floating through the river Styx, finding where he's going to go next, and he finds this place called Elsewhere, so there's like a different realm, a different plane of existence where he is. So I posted just a little synopsis about that, and he commented like, dude, I love this, and he starts telling me what Donner and the Devil is about, and it's kind of about the same thing. He's got a character that died too young, and yeah, he talks about it a lot on our podcast. It's up on the Moon Groove Records YouTube channel. Episode 8, Donner and the Devil, he talks about this character dies and kind of he's searching around the rest of the universe through different planes and is trying to like almost reclaim the life he lost. He obviously tells it more in detail, but right away it's like, shit, man, we're talking about some of the same shit. Let's link up, So he knows the drill. We're definitely gonna do probably some sort of song together.
That would be
almost
awesome.
Like a merger of the Ghost City Limit story and the Donner and the Devil story type thing.
Dan, I've known Dan for a very long time.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He has always been one of the most creative people that I've ever met.
That guy plays guitar like a
a
monster.
fantastic songwriter.
Yeah.
He plays bass, he plays guitar, he sings. Like, he is a very gifted musician, and I was catching up on your podcast like a couple weeks ago. For those that don't know, this was supposed to take place last week, and it didn't for one reason or another. So everything is past tense, future tense, whatever. But you'll catch up. But that was actually probably my favorite episode
With Donner?
With Donner,
I agree. That was the best one yet.
it was. It was very insightful to who Dan Walsh is, the storytelling that he's trying to get across. You do see correlations between you guys with what you're trying to say, and I think overall it was a very cool, very creative. It was a good interview. It was solid all the way around, and it made me want to check out like where the parallels draw in each of your stories too.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to get deeper into that. We're going to have him back on when he finishes his EP.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we want to do a deep dive into like each song and the story. That's been an idea in the works. Because I'm totally cool with people coming on twice,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's great because he's actually telling a story.
Yeah.
And he understands what I'm trying to do. Like, there are people that just don't quite understand what I mean when I say I'm trying to build a universe in which all of this is connected. Like, I've been a musician for a long time. I started playing drums like when I was a little kid because of my uncle Mike Festa lived right upstairs from me and my parents, and he played drums, and I remember hearing him play drums. I used to sneak up and try to play his drum set, but like, I know somewhere in me that I wanted to like write songs. I just hopped on the drums first. Like, I was turned on, like, seeing actually 2 of my uncles are drummers.
Oh,
and
cool.
then my dad was just like real, and still is, just real active in the metal scene. He's always going to shows.
That's cool.
They grew up in the era of Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Metallica, Testament, all that, the 80s metal, power metal, thrash metal. But about the time I get to high school, I'm in a few bands. I was in a band called A Zebby's Break that kind of is on hiatus at the moment, but it was on and off a band for like 10, 11 years. And I was also in a band called The Harder They Fall with Sean from Stitched Up.
Oh, cool.
Some other guys. Mike from Soul Searcher was involved in that band for a while, and what I started to notice in a lot of these bands and the different bands that we would branch off to, some of these songs or riffs or ideas were being like reused.
Mm-hmm.
Like if one band fell apart, like there was a song. I wrote this song in like 10th grade. It's called Dragon Toad, or We Must Slay the Dragon Toad. That song, there's like 13 or 14 different versions of that song. all like I wrote the original version, but like there's 10 or 11 people I know who have their own version in their head of what that song sounds like, because it's been played by 5 or 6 different bands over the 2010s. So I started to notice that what we're doing here is connected over there. And I you know, you're in high school, you're a senior, you're graduating, I'm turning 18. I'm like, you know, somewhere along the way we're going to go our separate ways and do our own things. But I don't want to be like competing against these dudes that I came up jamming with. So I started somewhere along the way around 2011, 2012. I have the idea in my head that like there's a world in which all this exists, like a fantastical kind of thing. And then I'm growing up and I start watching more shit, reading more shit, listening to more shit, and you see stuff like Marvel, how Marvel has the MCU. You see these movies and comic books. You have like Iron Man, Spider-Man, Captain America. Like they all have their own story that they're doing, but they exist in a world together. So I was like, and then in the end of 2012, I met my buddy Ben. He goes by Ben Jeffrey. He's actually like a historian. He's a history teacher now. Cool. And he would end up moving to Florida, but we started writing like a concept album about like a Vietnam vet who basically, how can I tell this really quick? There's like these 2 Vietnam vets. One of them died, but the one that survived is like still talking to him. Mm. And on the other side of the story, there's this dude that falls in love with this woman, but he finds out that she was married to the one that died in Vietnam. But it doesn't make sense because it takes place in that time, like 2012, 2013, but she appears to be like a young adult, 20 years old. Turns out she's immortal, and we've been telling a story about, for years now, this is They Found Glory, me and my buddy Ben, where we're going to tell a book and an album, each about different historical events. There's one about Henry Hudson, there's one about Ponce de Leon, and they're connected by this person that accidentally slept under the fountain of youth and is living. She can't die because she's immortal.
That's a cool concept.
She's living through all these different historical events. So that's like, okay, now we're really like writing full-on stories, and inevitably characters from the different stories start appearing, and it's like, okay, now it's like 2014, 2015, I have a thing. Mm-hmm. And I start telling a few of my close friends that I'm working with. I told Mike Mars, I told Sean Sinat from Stitched Up, I told Ben from They Found Glory, like, I have a thing here. And now it's like we're working on this little by little, and around 2016, 2017, it was Ben that came up with the name Compost Universe because of many references to like trees and like the cycle of life. When something dies, it decomposes and feeds the universe, and then the plants grow, and that feeds oxygen to the people and the animals and so on. You know, that cycle of life and death. Mm-hmm. And just a lot of references to trees and flowers and stuff. And then we came up with this visual of a tree that branches off into these many different worlds, and each one of these worlds would be like a planet or whatever, but that would be a project. Mm-hmm. Stitched Up, They Found Glory, Sun and Moon, Ghost City Limits, Ben's project, which is called Would You Buy Tickets to My Execution, like all these different projects that, again, you could just listen to that music, listen to that album or that song and enjoy it for what it is, but for if you're trying to go deeper, there's these links. And what there will be like direct references. Like I'll like reference a song title of another project in the lyrics of a song, which is just kind of how we've organically like where it fits. I don't,
Right.
you know, you don't force it in, but you like if I was writing lyrics to a song right now and I'm talking about, for some reason I'm talking about sewing or like surgery, I would say stitched up.
Okay.
And anyone who knows would understand I'm talking about whatever I'm talking about, but I'm referencing stitched up.
That's
And
cool.
I've done that, and me and a few people have been doing that for, like, when Soul Searcher and Dead Within Days both filmed music videos in Tom's garage.
Okay.
Tom from the Stitched Up.
Yeah.
And they kept certain things in the garage, like there was like a chains hanging from the drum set. Those were in both videos, like little
So it's like little links,
visual
and
links,
kind
yeah,
of like Easter eggs.
yeah, like
Okay.
Easter egg type stuff, little references. And when we get really deep into it, it's like, oh shit, there's like a character in this song, and he's appearing in this song by this totally other band, and that's really what I'm trying to bring to the scene. Is you know, I think that brings us really to 2023, beginning of 2024. Tom and Jenny, they bought a house and they got a studio going in the garage, and now Tom, his plan was to start Moon Groove Records, an independent label, booking company, studio, a creative collective, right? Like an independent music business by us, for us.
Mm-hmm.
And he's putting on shows, and he's you know, we have some producers in house, and the studio, we can use it as like a live session, like you get an in studio live session for your band or record there, whatever. And in the meantime, I kind of piggybacked off him. It was like, okay, well, he said you should start a YouTube channel and start talking about some of the lore. So I was like, okay, let me get someone who could film me doing that. And it was actually Mike from Soul Searcher that said, hit up Joel. Joel, the vocalist of Dead Within Days. And ever since then, we've had a really awesome partnership. That guy's amazing behind a camera. I don't know how the fuck he does it. And he's great because we'll sit down and we'll plan out what we're going to talk about. We did a few episodes where I'm kind of explaining the concept of what Compost Universe is and why it's important and what I'm looking for if you're going to be on the podcast. Like, Tom created like a music business in his own, like a company, essentially, what he's trying to do. That serves as all things, right? Like we get more bands to come play shows with us, get all the things I mentioned. I'm trying to do that on the level of the creative collaboration. I'm trying to create more creative collaboration between the different artists on the island, and
which is great. And
both entities are going to unite the scene, just in different ways.
Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of work in tandem with each other. Everything Tom is doing is building the community, and everything you're doing is connecting that community.
Exactly.
Which is cool, and you know, there's so many different facets that you can go down to connect everybody. Like hosting the podcast is one thing. That's great because you're directly connecting everybody.
Yeah.
You're saying that your lyrical content, your story, whatever you're about, links directly to what I'm doing or to what this person's doing. It's a very cool concept.
I'm a like I said, I'm a storyteller first and foremost. Like I write, but like me and my buddy Ben have written books that go along with our music. Like I write a lot, and you were asking me before about has that really panned out, the connection, and I think with Donner, it definitely did. The other two guests we've had on, it's we had Nico from Prey Upon on.
Yeah.
And we had Ryan from Premium Heart on. Mm-hmm. And actually next week we're having the band Valafor.
Oh, okay,
the
cool.
guys in Valafor.
I know them.
We're going to have them on. Another group of great guys. And I think the challenge I'm having is a lot of people, when they're writing music, aren't really thinking like I am. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to it's a like I don't want to sit there and be like, hey, I'm gonna take your music and fucking do
Yeah.
do this with it. Like I'm not trying to step on anyone's creative toes, but I think the more we get it out there and the more people we talk to, people will see what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and I think people will just be down with it, and some people won't, and that's cool. But I think when we I have visions of like Moon Groove Records related artists doing like an album, like a compilation, right?
That would be cool.
Record companies do it all the time. Metal
Mm-hmm.
Blade. I used to have the Metal Blade samplers. You find
Yeah,
a bunch of
for
cool
sure.
bands. But what if that compilation album was a concept? So each band is doing their thing. You're getting the Stitched Up, Dead Within Days, whoever that is involved with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got all these great bands, and they each contribute a song, but those songs connect like a true concept album, like a concept compilation. Like
That would be
that's
very
a
cool.
totally unique thing I haven't really seen done before, but you get more people involved in things like that.
That is a very actually. That's awesome. I'm thinking in terms of like, what would the wall have been if you had other bands contribute? If you gave them a story and you gave them a guide, but said, you decide what this song is going to sound like, and you decide where the story is going to go from here. That's very cool.
Like it's doable, and we're there's something in the works right now. There's um I did mention it came about because of the Nico from Prey Upon episode. Nico is uh he's the bass player of Prey Upon, great dude. He's real into hardcore and like
Mm-hmm.
groove metal. Like he likes Korn a lot. He likes like a lot of New York hardcore,
Hatebreed. He
Madball,
mentioned a
Hatebreed.
bunch on that
Yeah,
episode.
and he was talking about how uh he does Muay Thai training, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
martial arts. He's big into lifting, and we just talked about metal and heavy music really motivates him to move and get his anger out and shit. And in my head, I'm like, movement as a concept.
Mm-hmm.
What if we did an album type project with different types of music representing different types of movement?
Mm.
And this can go anywhere. So there's already a couple little collabs, some people working on songs of their own that we're gonna try and put together as a concept
That would
about
be very cool to hear.
movement. Uh, yeah, what I want to do is have like an underlying story beneath that relates more into the like the lore of all of it, but just I figured it's a simple concept.
Yeah.
It's very open ended. Music and movement, how are they related? What type of music would you um, associate with this type of movement? And we're trying to do something with that. But I think we're gonna go into deeper, like bigger projects going forward, and working with Tom, and he kind of it's cool because like I reached out to Donner for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew he was someone I wanted to have on it, and now it's like if Tom is booking a show, or Rob Pepe from Dead Within Days and
Yeah.
Dylan from Resist the Temptation, they're
Mm-hmm.
two of our booking guys,
Mm-hmm.
and Mike from Soul Searcher does some booking, helps us out with that a little bit too. He kind of does his own thing, but we have guys booking a lot of shows. Now I have a name like, yo, what one of your bands hop on this Moon Groove show, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing, they book a band, and it's like Moon Groove Records, the two Instagram, Compost Universe, Moon Groove Records. When we post a reel about the podcast or whatever, we'll do it as a collab post, so both following see it.
That's awesome.
And it's like, oh, we booked this band from out of state. Maybe they'll sit down with the podcast,
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to just be Long Island. I have the goal. It's a pipe dream right now, but it's like a non-zero possibility. If we got somebody on a higher level that is out there in an established touring band, like a
Mhm.
Trivium, or someone at that level, one of the bands that I admire. Imagine we get them on the podcast and we start digging into really what's behind some of their songs, and just one day, if possible, we get somebody that's out there touring, right? They're like that level of band. I'm throwing out Trivium because I just that's what comes to mind. They're one of the biggest bands going right now.
Of course, man.
They're great. It'd be really cool to get somebody at that level that has a song that has something to do with Compost Universe, you know, and the sky's the fucking limit.
I mean, don't say it's impossible.
Yeah, it's non-zero possibility.
The internet is a very powerful tool. You should never say that anything is impossible or off limits, because nothing is. But yeah, man, you gotta grind it out. You gotta do your thing, and you gotta get your voice heard as much as possible.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say that's something that you can't do.
I think little by little. You know,
build it brick by brick, man. Every little
and
thing, it starts somewhere and then it grows.
Yeah, I hope we get. I hope that this conversation here gets more eyes on Face the Music and gets more eyes on Moon Groove Records.
Well, that would
more
be...
eyes on Compost Universe. That's the goal tonight, right? And
I mean, cross promotion is huge, man. I love it. I love the fact that even this, we have a link to each other through two podcasts, through musicians. We have a good amount of people that we know through 6 Degrees of Separation that really we've been introduced through the years. I would say multiple times. We've shared the stage multiple times.
Yeah, we played a bunch of shows together.
Yeah.
Active Aggression. We had played with Burn Your Bridges quite a few
bunch of times.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've done shows with you and Stitched Up.
Yeah, for sure.
We were supposed to, the one I messaged you the other day, the one we were supposed to do in 2020 with the War Within.
That's right, that flyer.
And that fell apart real quick.
Dude, in 2020, I was playing actively, like, regularly playing shows with the Stitched Up. We had just gotten, like, we started playing shows. I joined the band in, like, March 2019. We started playing shows September 2019. And so we had shows planned for that band in 2020. Active Aggression, we played a show the Friday that the world did shut down.
Oh, Jesus.
That was like the last show. And then there was this band, Death Merchant, I was playing in. We had 9 shows booked. We had 10 shows booked. We played 2 of them.
Oh my God.
We played like the last week of January, the first week of February, out in Brooklyn we played. And we were supposed to play the Gramercy opening up for Flotsam and Jetsam. We were supposed to play Blackthorn opening up for Grim Reaper. And COVID happened and shut fucking everything down. Like, that was supposed to be my year.
Yeah, dude.
Like, that was a sick band. It was speed. He called it speed metal, the vocalist. It was like, if you think the riffs were like early Metallica, but the vocals were death metal, like old school death metal meets like early 80s, like pre-thrash metal stuff, like Accept, and like a little heavier than like Killers from Maiden, like that kind of era, that pocket between like 80 and 85, what metal sounded like then, with like death metal vocals. It was a crazy fucking band. And it all fell apart because of fucking COVID.
That does sound like a pretty insane experience to even, to be a part of that had to have been pretty cool.
Yeah, we did get to open up for Blood Feast and Whiplash. That was cool. I was so stoked that we were going to open up for Grim Reaper. That sucks because rest in peace, Steve Grimmett.
Yeah.
But that would have been so fucking cool.
Also,
but, I think Stitched Up, when we get back out there, we're going to get to open up for some badass bands and get our name out there,
I think that it's awesome that you guys are going to be coming back around too. Your music is so good, and like when I was looking on Spotify for your music, I saw that you had the one album out in 2021.
Yeah, the EP.
Yeah,
that's right.
And I was like, man, this is too good to go to waste. And I'm like, I pray to God these guys are coming back, dude, because you guys are so talented. And like, now what was the lineup that you guys left on? Because I know you had a couple changes.
The EP. Well, I'm not even the original drummer. I joined. So it started. It was Tom, Jenny, Alex. That was like the core lineup, and they had Sean Sun originally, And they had this dude, Joe Melia, playing drums. He plays in Golden Hymns Sing Hurrah with Tom.
Okay.
That's Tom's instrumental band.
And is Jenny in that one too?
Yeah, Jenny.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Tom, cool. Jenny, Alex, the dude Joe Melia, great guy, and Sean's son. Sean ended up leaving, and Joe ended up leaving, and then they got Joe, the drummer of Soul Searcher. So Joe DeMeo, who is the drummer of Soul Searcher, he joined on guitar, and then I started hanging out with him around 2018, 2019, and he kept telling me, dude, you gotta play drums in this band I'm in. They need a drummer, because the drummer, not Joe DeMeo, the other Joe, left. So they were looking for a drummer, and they kept hitting me up, and finally I just said, fuck it. I came and he was just like, show up to Tom's house on Saturday, we're jamming. I was like, just show up there? He's like, yeah, they're trying out another drummer too. And it was a member of Alex's old band, Critical Era. Okay. And that's what the name Stitched Up means. It's the stitching up of multiple bands that fell apart because of whatever. There were 2 or 3 bands that Tom, Sean, Alex, and Jenny were all involved in at like either 1 or 2 of those people were involved in these 3 different bands. They all fell apart because of some bullshit that happened in 2016.
Yeah.
And they made Stitched Up from all these members. We changed it to The Stitched Up when we got our shit on Spotify, because there's like 4 different bands called Stitched Up.
Yeah.
We're the first The Stitched Up. So
all right. That works.
Yeah, so Joe kept hitting me up, and then I went to jam with them, and I already knew one of their songs because I had heard the demo. And then the rest is history. That was March 2019. So we had that lineup for a couple years, and in 2021 we put out the EP. So it was Tom on vocals, Joe DeMeo and Alex Krause on guitar, Jenny on bass, me on drums. And then Joe wanted to go in more of like a modern metal kind of direction, and we're kind of all over the place. I think he wanted to be a little more cohesive, where we have like the songs we were writing. It's like Alex wrote like a rap rock, like Linkin Park kind of song. We have like a punk rock song. I brought a few like progressive metal, like Iron Maiden style epics, and then Tom wrote like a really light song. And I think he was like, we kind of got to decide what kind of band we want to be, where we were like, we're the fucking Stitched Up, man. So he left the band in 2022, and Sean's son came back.
Okay.
And so that's been the lineup. Where we have the EP out. That's 6 songs. We did put out a single as part of like a compilation for the Wax Vessel. It's a bunch of like grindcore bands that prints vinyl. So we made. I
think I saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah,
it was all like different colored vinyls, right?
Yep. Yeah. So we got to be on a vinyl, which is really cool with that song, cool. Part of a compilation, and that was the first thing we recorded with this lineup, and then we started recording an album. That's going to be 15 songs.
Oh wow!
Plus, we're going to put out some singles, and some of the other songs we recorded will be B-sides. We definitely want Sean Rayner, Eternal Vision. To record a music video for us.
That's very cool.
Probably gonna hit up. I think we'll probably end up in some capacity working with Joel as well. But those guys, that scene. We'll put out a few singles. I recorded 18 tracks for drums.
Jesus, man.
In the span of a month, and then our guitar player Sean, who's also producing the album, he hurt himself pretty bad, so he's been recovering for a while.
Oh damn! Get better soon.
Yeah, he's been. It's just physically he can't be standing on like stage and holding a guitar for that long. Like he can.
That's rough.
Right now he can play, but he's just limited in what he could do. So we're slowly but surely working on we got a lot of guitars recorded, and now we're kind of just filling in the blanks of bass. There are 4 different people that are going to be recording guitar on the album. Damn. Because Alex and Sean, Alex is like our rhythm guitar. We consider him part of the rhythm section of the band. He's the real chug punk rock river, and then Sean is our lead guitarist. Sean's like a deadhead.
Okay.
He's real into like jam bands and like improvisation and different scales and modes. So
I'm sure he's gonna add some like ambient stuff too.
Yeah, and he and you know, plus he's just got a great ear for production, and we're recording it pretty raw. Like we're recording it in a garage. There's very few drum samples. There's like a couple on certain songs for effect, but it's pretty live drums. Half the songs were do it quick, half the songs weren't, just based on the vibe.
Dude, good for you guys though.
We're just kind of doing it.
You're bringing it back to the garage.
Yeah, we're a garage rock band right now. Tom, who, you know, he's the lead vocalist. We all do vocals. We all have a mic. I scream on the EP a little bit. Tom plays guitar on like half the songs, and Joe, who he wrote 3 of the songs that we recorded. One of them we redid from the EP. 2 of them were songs that he wrote with us before he left the band. He's gonna be on those songs, so we'll have
That's cool.
3, Sean, Alex, and Joe all on those songs. So like, you know, we had a difference in direction with Joe, but he's still the homie. We're all friends, and it's all cool.
That's great that you guys could take a musical disagreement and put it behind you.
I think
unfortunately a lot of times people can't do that, and like
it sucks.
Musicians are very immature sometimes. You know, any sort of disagreement could be the end of a band. Instead of working as a team and as friends, which is what you should always bring it back to, is you're always friends first. Unfortunately, though, that is how so many bands end up breaking up and friendships get ruined. But truth be told, I'm happy for you guys that you're able to maintain that relationship and have him back and work on songs that he was a part of originally.
Yeah, I think it's only right, you know, and like when he left the band, it was kind of like, my heart's not in this anymore, so I'm gonna finish out these couple. We had 2 or 3 more shows, and he came out and played the shows, and in the meantime we started working with Sean, and it was all like, we were all partying together.
Yeah.
Like we were all, I think like someone's birthday was right around the time, and there was a party where I was like, I was hanging out, sitting with both Joe and Sean, just drinking beers. Like, it was all, everyone knew what was going on. There was no behind-the-scenes bullshit. We knew Joe was leaving, so we started looking for a replacement. And, you know, Sean, it's funny, he left the band and went, like, solo years ago.
Yeah.
Back. And, but me and him reconnected in 2019. And Sean is, Sean's, like, one of my... Like, Sean is my best friend. I've been friends with Sean since we were 14. We came up through high school playing the fucking Lindenhurst Moose Lodge together and shit. You know, we played a lot of shows and wrote a whole bunch of songs together. We recorded a bunch of shit together. Him and I just have a chemistry. And but he had left metal for a while. He was exploring other types of music because he's not really a metal guy. Mm-hmm. Like, in Stitched Up, Tom and I are the most, like, metal, and probably a little more me, because I go deep into the obscure. I don't just listen to the big 4. I listen to Death Angel and Creator and Halloween, and, you know, all the, like, I'm big on old school metal.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Alex is, like, he's very, like, punk rock, and he's big into, like, underground rap. And Jenny's, like, punk rock and, like, emo and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So we're all coming from, like, kind of different styles of music. But Tom and I listen to just about everything. And Sean pretty much does, too.
That's good.
The 3 of us listen to all different kinds of music. And he hit me up one night and was like, yo, are you guys still looking for a guitarist? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, you think I could try out? And I was like, bro, we sat down and talked about the possibilities, and everyone said, if you wanted to do it, you were the best choice. And here we are. So we got Sean, and it's cool because I said before that Stitched Up, the name Stitched Up means the merging together of these fallen bands. Mm-hmm. But it's also, I would say, the merging together of, like, sounds and even genres and stories.
Yeah.
Because when I joined the band, when I started, I came for, hey, this is some pretty cool riffs. I stayed because I sit down with Tom, and he's like, we have this one song that's about the legend of the siren.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh shit, I just made a song about that with my own shit. Oh, we got, I shit you not, I had just finished doing a song with Ben for They Found Glory called No Heroes Left Alive, which is kind of about what it sounds like. The feeling that we have no heroes to look up to in today's day and age, right? And Tom was telling me that his band, before it was called Stitched Up, him and Jenny were in a band called I Still Believe in Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And we were using songs, the first batch of Stitched Up songs were songs that he had with that band. I'm like, we're already doing something here.
Yeah.
The stories that I'm telling, like I said, I'm all about the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
The stories that I'm telling, we're linked up. So now it's like, okay, now I have a band that gets it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That gets the storytelling that I'm doing. And now, right away, like, storylines merge. Yeah. So it's not just former bands merging. It's people from sort of different scenes, different sounds, stories merging. And that's why we have our little... If you see any of our artwork, we have the little blue guy, Stitchy.
Yeah.
I think...
I think Stitchy was getting surgery in the first EP cover.
Yeah. It's Visit to the EP. It's like a hospital bed. And we have a song called Symphony of the Separated that I wrote that kind of... So I don't want to say too much about the album, but that... I think Symphony of the Separated, that song kind of... gives a little hint that we're going to be talking about just how Stitchy came together.
Oh, cool.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're starting to dig into it, and we definitely have already. We got to finish this fucking thing. We're not going to get too ahead of ourselves, but we've had a lot of conversations about second album type stuff, and even
that's awesome.
Third album. You know, and I think we're really going to dig more into just exactly what kind of stories we're trying to tell.
I can't wait to hear it.
It's a lot of fun, man. It's a great guys and girl. Yeah. You know,
and you guys are all so unbelievably talented too. Like,
thank you, man.
I mean, I know that you're a multi-instrumentalist. Tom's a multi-instrumentalist. I don't know that much about Jenny, but I do know that she plays bass. I do know that you had mentioned she sings too.
Yeah, she's like a bass, like aficionado. Like she's like classically trained bassist.
That's awesome.
Like she plays a stand-up bass.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
no way.
We've like floated the idea of like getting somehow her to do that with the band in some capacity. Like we've it's ideas that have been floated, and it's, you know, Tom's pretty fucking handy. He's just like one of those dudes that you could bring any instrument to him. Not only is he gonna figure out how to play it, like any stringed instrument. Yeah. He picked up a banjo out of a dumpster when Sam Ash was closing, and then 2 days later we're hanging out and he's just playing the banjo. Like, I feel like, did you play this shit before? He's like, no, I never played it. Like, and he knows how to fix it. He can figure out. You know, I had a tragedy happen. I was hanging out with some of my boys. I got a acoustic bass for Christmas. Okay. My girlfriend, who Emily, she's another person I work very closely with. She writes a lot of lyrics with me. She's a singer.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah. She grew up doing the like musicals in high school and stuff. She's real into the Broadway and shit.
So she's a drama club kid.
Yeah, she's a theater kid. Exactly. She's a great singer. And we write some stuff together, some like more light melodic, but it gets heavy at times. But yeah, her sister and her mom bought me a acoustic bass for Christmas, which was sick. And thank God I got warranty on it, because I went to see some old friends like right after Christmas, some old buddies of mine, some of the Levy's Break dudes, and we're all fucking around with some instruments. I'm showing them the bass. I put it up on the couch for a second, and his dog got up and ran and knocked the fucking thing over. Head came clean off. But I brought it right to Tom, and you know, I used the warranty to get the new one, but he's gonna just make that into another acoustic bass. Just with what he has left of it, he's gonna sand it down, and we're gonna have a band acoustic bass. Because I already got mine replaced, you know.
Yeah.
And now we'll have an extra one for the band to use. And
that's very cool.
Do some sort of little intimate acoustic type set. You know, we're kind of down for pretty much anything. We want to.
I've noticed you guys are really just about the music. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what kind. You guys just want to kick back, shoot the shit, play music, and have fun doing it. And that's the vibe, honestly.
Yeah, I'm the type of person, I'm gonna try it before I outright reject it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because we've done so much different kinds of shit, and I feel like back in the day, being a kid, you're like, oh, we can't do that, that's not metal, but it's like, but then how does anything evolve? How does anything different get made? You know, like, you know, I'm a child of Iron Maiden and that kind of stuff, but I don't want to sound like Iron Maiden. I'm influenced by Iron Maiden, I'm inspired by them, but I don't want to make Iron Maiden songs. I want to make Rob Moon songs, Stitched Up songs, you know what I'm saying? Ghost City Limits songs. Like, I try to check out as much different kinds of stuff, and you hear something in, you know, I take in my environment. I take in what I'm seeing when I'm like walking around or riding my bike or driving around. I take in shows I watch or books I read, video games I played. You know what I'm saying? I take in.
I know that in last week's attempt at an interview, you had actually brought this up, so I'm going to segue the same way. In one of your first 2 episodes of your podcast, you did talk about taking influence from nature. I think it was your second episode.
Yes.
That you see something and it inspires you to write about something. And in this example, you had mentioned kicking a dandelion.
Yeah.
And that's cool. You know, I think you said something about kicking wishes off the side of the road.
Yeah,
I don't remember the exact lyric.
So I was walking and I was like walking on grass and I kept seeing dandelions, so I kept kicking them, and you see like the flakes.
Yeah.
And the word "kicking wishes" comes into my head, and I'm just like, shit, that'd be pretty. So the first line, it's like "kicking wishes from dandelions to the sky." Like, it's I'm like, yo, that's like a fucking badass idea, and I made a whole song out of it, and
that's cool that you could you could derive your inspiration from something as simple as kicking a dandelion. It's a cool concept that you can embrace something even in nature and just make something of it. My mind doesn't work in that creative sense. I mean, maybe it's the fact that I haven't let it, but yeah, my mind always goes to like, well, how can I make this sound like a metal song? Not like, I have metal music, but what can I do lyrically to enhance the song? I don't know. I'm not really a great lyricist to begin with. So, to get the creative juices flowing, to get out even bullshit, like, I'm impressed with myself. Like, I have 2 songs that I actually like the lyrics for. One of which I wrote right after Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell died, and another one I wrote about a former bandmate that I don't want to mention names, but
gotcha.
Yeah, they're the only 2 songs that I have in my catalog that I'm like, I'm proud of this, but like, I don't have inspiration to be derived from certain things like that, and I think it takes a very creative mind to say, I just kicked a dandelion, I'm gonna write a song about that, and then immediately you have your hook and you have your concept.
Yeah, I think usually I have a riff first, and I always have a drum pattern going in my head at all times, because, you know.
Well, that's what drummers do.
Yeah, we're always, I'm always thinking about some sort of double bass pattern or gallop or whatever, like, you know, everyone's like, shut the fuck up and stop banging, but, you know, I'm like, no, I'm going to lose this groove I have, you know, this breakdown or this beat, whatever. So usually I have a riff first, and then I kind of come with the lyrics. Like, I know in my head there's like a story I want to tell, but this was a time where I was like, I had a lyric first, like a lyrical motif. And, you know, the idea of like eating people's wishes, like just taking people's dreams away, you know, like something really messed up like that. um, when I make a song, I'm thinking of it like a scene in a movie, and then when you go to like an album is like a book, and each song is like a chapter in that book or a scene in that movie or an episode of that season of that show. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm thinking of it as parts of a greater whole. So I'm thinking in terms of like what emotion do I want to get out with this, and what like message matters here for this song, and so I always am thinking about that. People used to call it the middle eight, like that. You're gonna come up with your verse, right? It's like or like an intro riff, and then your verse where the groove kind of starts, and you have your chorus. That's like the where the emotion releases, right? But I'm always thinking about how am I gonna get say I have two choruses, and now I have to get it back to, like the main riff before the song ends. Generally speaking, I think my favorite part of writing a song is coming up with that emotional climax where we've done a runaround of a verse, maybe a bridge, pre-chorus, chorus, whatever, right? Like twice, and now we're in the middle of the song, and how am I gonna tie it all together to end the song? I think I think to that moment of really what emotion I want to put out with the song. Like what am I feeling? What am I thinking about? And like, you know, I used to always just write, oh, like it's angry. I'm angry, but like, nah, you want to talk about different things than being. I want to. What am I wondering about? What am I dreaming about? You know, what's going on up here, and why?
I've been trying now, I believe, for a year and a half to work a dream into a song.
Really?
I had such an in-depth dream one night that I woke up and I started typing everything out on my phone because I didn't want to forget it. Rosalie ended up waking up and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I just had this fucking dream, dude. Like, I need to write this down because it could be a movie." And it was The Ghosts of Seoul. And it was about people who were trapped in Korea and they're trying to reach an end.
Oh,
and
shit.
it's this crazy concept. I'll have to tell you about it. It's lengthy, so I don't want to say it on air. Yeah, I will for sure tell you about it. But like it was so in depth and so crazy. And I'm like, I can't believe that this just came to me in a dream. It's such a good story for something that laid in my subconscious. So like something like that. It has been probably I would say we've been in this apartment for I think over 2 years now. This had to have been the first year that we were in this apartment.
Jeez.
Let me see. Let me take a look if I can find the note.
That's really interesting. What are you dreaming about Korea for?
Dude, I don't even know.
It just popped into your head?
Subconscious is a crazy place.
Yeah, that's weird how that happens, right?
Yeah, no, like, I don't understand personally, like, oh, yeah. October 28th, 2023. So, like, and it's been in my phone ever since. And, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Korea, of all things. I mean, like, 2023, there was a bunch of shit going on with Korea, but there's always shit going on with Korea. So, like, I don't know.
That's really funny.
Yeah. But
that's one of my favorite things to do is when you have a fucked up dream, make that into a song.
Yeah. Which, you know, I would love to, but I got to get into, like, storyteller mode, which is something that I'm not typically there with. Like, I write songs a lot about mental health. That's gotcha. You know, that's the main thing I like to write about, is things that I can relate to the most. So something like mental health is big with me. Something like fighting depression is big with me. Or, you know, I've had a lot of people do me dirty in life, and I write about that. The song I wrote about Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell is an anti-suicide song.
Okay.
I wrote a song when my cousin died, but all I have is the hook. You know, I don't have lyrics for this song. But I love the lyrics that I wrote so much for it that it's actually tattooed on my arm. And it says, "Your memory lives on the wings of your last breath."
Huh.
And to me, that was something that came to me. I was sitting at a Dunkin' Donuts waiting for my car to be fixed. And that just clicked into my mind, and I'm like, gonna start writing this down. I have the whole song. I have structure. I have every single bit of it laid out, and no lyrics. But there's so much room for it that I can't translate the feeling of it. And now, like, it started because I was sad, and I couldn't cope with that feeling. And now, God, it's been like 13 years since he died, and I still can't find a way to link lyrics to this song.
When I was a lot younger, I used to kind of just wing it.
Yeah.
Like, I would just kind of, like, a lot of times I didn't even write them down. Like, I was just, like, when I would record music by myself or with Ben, shit I was sending to Ben, I'd kind of just, like, okay, I had a riff, right? And I would make the song, and then I'm, like, kind of, like, we're just feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd catch things later in the song. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I might reference that later and tie this in. Now I'm really, like, I'm thinking about, okay, I want to make sure this all makes sense. And it's just something, it's a muscle, you know? It's like, the only way you're going to get better at running is by running.
Yeah.
The only way you're going to get better at writing songs and writing lyrics is by doing it.
See, the funny thing is, there's so many songs out there that the music is so good, but the lyrics suck so much ass.
Oh, dude.
And, like, I don't want to be that. So I'm trying not to outsource and have someone else write lyrics for me and shit, even though I'm already going to have people sing it for me because I'm not a vocalist. But I don't want the lyrics that I put on paper to be dog shit.
Yeah.
So now I'm at a point of, like, I'm hypercritical of that too. I don't want anything to be like, man, this is a good song, but the lyrics are bullshit. So
there's a song I have. I'm gonna re-record it one day. It's called "Lying Through My Teeth." My girlfriend makes fun of me every time we listen to this song, the original recording, because I rhymed. The last line of the song is, "And every time I hear you speak, it sounds as if the truth's been perverted." But I should have said talk, because the line before that, I said, "I see you're wearing a cross. From here it looks like it's been inverted." So I should have rhymed cross with talk, but I said I didn't think, so I just said speak, and it sounds so fucking stupid. and my girlfriend makes fun of me for it all the time. Because it's like, and I now I'll play it live, like acoustic, and I'll do talk instead of speak. Yeah, but just like, shit, man. If I would have thought of that, that'd be really, you know. But I'm gonna just re-record it, and it's on my Bandcamp. Probably 7 people have listened to it anyway, so who gives a shit? But you know,
I have a thing with lyrics, and like, excuse me, it's been a long day. Gratuitous cursing and just silly lines rub me the wrong way. Like, I don't want to name names because I don't want anyone to get their feelings hurt by anything, but I had to help write lyrics for songs in a few instances because what was presented to me, I laughed at. And I was like, I don't mean to laugh, but it sounds like a 9-year-old child wrote this. It doesn't sound like a man wrote this.
Writing lyrics is hard, man. You know, like, if you sit down and read the lyrics to, like, a Maiden song, you're like, dude, this guy is in contact with some other being. You know what I'm saying? Like, Steve Harris writing lyrics is like, just...
And, I mean, you have to take into effect that Iron Maiden, especially, they write about history.
Right, yeah. They take historical events and, like, frame them as a unique story about that historical event, and it's not just like there's exceptions, but they have a song called "Brighter Than 1,000 Suns." It's off their album "A Matter of Life and Death" from 2006. It's just like 10-minute song about the Manhattan Project.
Yeah,
and it's framed as like a story, like as the music is getting more intense, the like, you know what they're about to do. They're like, we're about to unleash fucking hell onto the earth, supposedly, you know, what we think is for the greater good, but you see the tension rising as the lyrics are getting more like menacing and intense. Like these dudes really think about what they're writing, and like, you know, sometimes there's just a thing that sounds cool that you want to fit into the song, and it's all a balance. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want every lyric to be like triple meanings and fucking like, I listen to a lot of rap and they do like double entendres and triple entendres where the wordplay, and I really find that fascinating. But if everything's that, then you're gonna lose the meaning of the song, you know? So it's a balance too.
Hang on, we're timing out. Well, hi.
Thank you.
It's doing the thing again, huh? We good?
Yep.
All right. What were we just talking about?
Iron Maiden. Brighter Than 1,000 Suns.
Yeah.
Iron Maiden. Yeah.
Yeah, with Maiden, and it's the same thing with bands like Sabaton, where like they have their niche that they write about. So Iron Maiden is history, Sabaton is war. Everything is fucking war.
Yeah, Sabaton, I think they're standing on the shoulders of certain Maiden albums, and they do it really well. They do it very, very well. They put on a great show too. But yeah, they're talking.
Oh god, Sabaton's cool so good live.
They're talking about legit, like, specific events. Like, they're not just like Sabaton won't just make a song about World War II. They'll talk about like a specific battle.
Yeah.
And these particular soldiers that fought these particular guys in this. It's pretty fucking sick what they do.
And it's the same thing with Amon and Martha and the Vikings. They nail their point.
That is a phenomenal
they stay
band.
in niche.
They have a niche, that's right.
But there's nothing wrong with that because they're good at it. Because they know how to tell that story.
Well. And the music just feels like you listen to their music, bro.
You want to roll a Viking ship.
Yeah, you feel like you're at battle. I was at a show, I think it was 2017. They played Cry of the Blackbirds.
Yeah.
First of all, the fucking drummer, he's on the stage, his riser is a fucking ship.
Yep.
He's sitting on the drum throne on the deck of a ship, and then the ship comes out past the stage. You can almost touch it, but you're like behind the security fence. It was at the Paramount. Okay, you can almost reach out and touch the helm of this ship, and Johan, the vocalist, is at the fucking helm of it while he's screaming. They start playing Cry of the Blackbirds. Everybody gets on the ground.
Yeah, they all row, right?
We're doing the rowing thing. I'm like, I see what's going on. I join in, and he stops the fucking song before like the break, and he goes, "You guys are the wildest fucking crowd. This is fucking insane." I'm like, dude, this is... I've never... That energy. That was the first time I ever crowd surfed at a show.
Really?
Me and my buddy crowd surfed. Like, I was just in it, bro. Like, a Monomarth at the Paramount. I was on the floor. That was the most intense fucking... And they were playing stuff from the York's Viking album. And a lot of stuff from the... With Odin on Our Side album. So it was like, those are probably my two favorite Amon Amarth records. With Odin on Our Side, I was like 11 when it came out. That got me into them. And York's Viking, it's like their 10th record. It was their newest one at the time. I think those two are probably my favorites. They played those heavily. So I was just having a good-ass fucking time.
Yeah,
but the stuff they're talking about, it fits so well with the music. That's another... Like, lyricism is storytelling, but music is too.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to build the tension of the music, like get heavier or get faster or get louder as the shit you're talking about. That's a true songwriter, you know.
So that actually, jumping back to last week's conversation again, that ties in shit like Donner and the Devil. That ties in what I was telling you about with Peter and the Wolf too. Is
Absolutely.
That certain elements of music you can intensify to tell a story. Some elements of music you can mellow out to tell another perspective or another character.
Yes.
Music is very cool with like how you can manipulate, but also silently tell a story.
I asked Donner that. I asked Dan that. With Donner, you're telling, you have a concept, like it's not a concept album, it's a concept band, like concept, like his whole project is a story, right?
It's similar to like what Coheed and Cambria do.
Exactly.
Right? Like, yeah. They tell a story through every album about the same.
Right. Exactly. And it's based off like comic books that Claudio was involved in. Right. But I asked Dan, like, how are you doing that without lyrics? And he said that he uses different tones and different notes or different pedals, different effects to like be from the point of view of different entities in the story. And he said it's freeing. Whereas to me, it's like I rely on lyrics heavily, because I'm making references to specific places and characters and things that happened before. Like I'll repeat certain motifs lyrically throughout an album, but I'll also do that musically. Like I'll bring back a melody on a previous song to a different song that's like you're reflecting that emotion from a different context maybe. But that's his whole thing. It's just and that's it's fucking amazing what he's doing. Like
Dan. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Dan is one of the most creative people that I've ever met. He is just gifted. His mind works in a way that so many people can't get their brains to work, and like he sees things differently. He interprets things differently. Being in a band with Dan, like I was in Requiem of Ashes with him I was first starting out. I was drumming with him and the rest of the guys in Old Bones.
Were you in Old Bones too, or is that like a different version of the band?
Old Bones came next in line for them. So they started out, the three of them, Anthony, Dan, and John. They had a band called Nevermind, which was like a punky kind of band, like very gritty, almost like grungy. Very fun music though. So from that, they all took on metal, and me and Anthony, like I had said before in other episodes, like we clicked over Trivium. That was our branching band. So, like, we were in music theory together. We knew each other in high school. But Trivium was the band that's like, hey, we should try to jam on this a little bit. So, like, I was playing drums at the time. And, like, our goal every single time was we should try to play Ascendancy front to back.
Oh, shit.
And, like, it's an endurance test for sure.
Oh, dude. Especially as a drummer, man. Yes. Yeah.
And, like, it was sloppy. We're high school kids. But, like, we did get through it, over the course of a while, but it was fun. Cool. And then we started writing our music, and our music was so inspired by Trivium and so inspired by just everything else we were picking up and listening to. There's a lot of Lamb of God elements, a lot of like Gojira and Machine Head elements, and like it was all showing through the music. But bring Dan and John into the mix, now we have a full band and we're writing, and Dan was always very quiet then. He came in, he did his parts, he sang what he had to sing, and he was very reserved. And then through Requiem of Ashes, Dan and John wanted to put Nevermind back together, but they needed a drummer. Anthony was originally their drummer before switching over to guitar and vocals for Requiem of Ashes.
Okay.
So I took over drums for Nevermind for a few shows, and it was great seeing another side of how their creative mind works. They had songs, my favorite song, and I can't even remember the name of it, but at the end of it, Dan starts talking about a little puppy. And it was the most primacy shit. It was so funny that like every time we played it live, I had to try not to laugh behind the kit because he got so into character. But he's going from this guy who's like very locked in with metal, and he's just like going off on bass, doing his vocals, doing his thing, to lead vocals, still on bass, singing about nonsense. I think it was a song called In Case of Zombies. I think, so the line with In Case of Zombies was, in case of zombies, get your legs running, get in John's Volvo, and we'll be gunning. John drove a Volvo in high school, and they wrote a song about, like, in case there's a zombie outbreak, get in John's car.
Like a little plan you guys made for a zombie
I could be thinking
apocalypse.
of different songs with the puppy thing. I think it was the same song, but dude, it was so funny. And like it was not a comical band, but just comical moments in this band. And from there, John had another band that grew called Lux Revenge. It was his project with this other guy we went to high school with named Joel. It was a more hardcore type band. It was like your typical MySpace hardcore where like they have movie samples and shit in front of the songs.
Oh,
and,
yeah, I know those days. Okay.
It was a lot of fun to be in.
It was a band, Life Ruiner, back then, that every fucking song had a movie sample at the beginning.
So this was similar, is that a lot of their songs had that. But we also, like, I got exposed to a lot of other kinds of music in that era.
Yeah.
Like, I learned about Every Time I Die from them. We covered Buffalo Girls.
Fuck yeah, dude.
We were going to cover freaking, I think, Party Hard by Andrew WK we were going to cover at some point. Like, there's a lot of shit on there where I'm like, this is a good time. Like, I'm having a fun time being a part of this. But then, I stopped playing with them through the years. Like, it just kind of fell apart. But then it's gonna throw me off here. The name of the band they did after that, they joined back up with Anthony and they formed the band Baratheon.
Oh shit.
Baratheon was like a second coming of Requiem of Ashes. So it was a rework of all those songs. I wasn't a part of it, but they did get this guy James to play, and James is an incredible drummer. They also had Griffin play for a minute. Griffin from Letter of Marque.
I don't think I know.
Oh, okay. Well, he's a cool dude. He's with Adam and the Metal Hawks now.
Oh,
but
cool. I've heard of that, Adam and the Metal Hawks.
Yeah, they the singers from like American Idol or some shit. They
Oh, is that the guy that thinks he's Jack Black?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, they popped off for a minute during COVID with
they had
with Tenacious D
memes,
covers,
the TikTok memes, right?
Yeah. But Griffin recorded with them a little bit, and then he went off to do Letter of Marque and whatever. Then after Baratheon came Old Bones, so that's like
Old Bones,
band after band after band down the road.
Yeah, I heard the you played an Old Bones song on.
Yeah,
I think it was the Path We Choose episode. That shit was fire.
Yeah,
bro.
they're great. They're great. They are they're all very locked in when they commit to a band, and they live and breathe music.
Yeah,
John went to school for recording. When we were doing the Requiem of Ashes stuff, we actually, John asked us, do you guys want to come down and record a song? He's like, I can't be on the song because I'm recording it, but this is for a project for me for school, so if you guys want to be a part of it, we'll do something. We ended up recording a cover of Rain by Trivium.
Oh, shit.
So, we used the track, I played to the track as a click. Then we layered on top of that, and the recording was halfway decent. It sounded like your average garage recording, maybe.
Okay.
But it was a lot of fun. To actually get to record a Trivium song now at that point, it was fun.
Trivium for me was huge because my dad went to see Iced Earth when Ripper Owens was in the band. They were on the Glorious Burden tour, which I think is Iced Earth's finest hour. The Glorious Burden, that album was crazy. Trivium was the opener. I was 9, so I didn't go to the show. But my dad went, and the opener was this band Trivium, and he happened to go take a piss before Iced Earth, and he was in the urinal next to fucking Corey. So, he washes his hands, he's like, hey man, you guys sounded pretty good up there. He goes, oh, thanks bud, we got an album coming out next week. And it was Ascendancy, so he went and got it, and one day he just handed me his Walkman. I was in 5th grade, and he's like, listen to this. So I hear Rain and I hear Pull Harder and that little piano intro, and I was like, what the fuck is this, dude? I had heard screaming before. I listened to a lot of Linkin Park, and I had listened to early Avenged Sevenfold, Waking the Fallen era. I had heard screaming, but I guess I didn't register that it was a different type of vocals.
Yeah.
But then I hear Trivium, and the music is as fast as and intense it is. It's beautiful and melodic. It sounds like Iron Maiden or Metallica, one of those bands. But then the vocals. He's a monster. He's I'm like, what type of music is this? I need more of this. And I think Pull Harder, hearing that drum intro on Pull Harder, that's what made me say, I need to play drums in a band. I need to do this. I want to play thrash metal fucking drums and get good at drumming. I was already into it, but I was like, no, this is what I want to do.
I said almost the same exact shit.
Yeah,
a couple weeks back.
That's funny. I was listening to Liquid Metal, the Satellite. That band Malevolence.
Oh, they're so good.
Jose
dude.
Mangan was actually. I saw Malevolence open for Trivium and Beartooth.
Dude,
Jose Mangan was interviewing them. Malevolence. What are some albums that you listened to like starting out that made you want to do this? And they said Linkin Park. They mentioned and Trivium Ascendancy. I was like. Dude, they're a legacy band now. I've been following Trivium since Ascendancy came out. Mm-hmm. Now they have 10 albums out. And now bands are saying the same thing I fucking said as a kid. Like, bands that are coming out and touring they're over from England, they're here, they're in America, they're playing these big venues. That album, Trivium Ascendancy, made us want to do this shit. I'm like, it's such a great record. It's such a great band.
It's funny you mention Malevolence because I just found them yesterday.
I heard them on Liquid Metal, and then I went to see Trivium, and they were opening. I was like, fuck yeah, these guys rule.
I was clipping songs for the show yesterday, and as I was editing one thing, song ended, next one comes on, and it was a Malevolence song, and I was like, holy shit. I texted everybody right away. I was like, I don't know if you know this band, but you have to check them out.
Yeah, they're
so good,
phenomenal, dude. On Broken Glass, I heard that song first. I'm like, I think that's the name of the song. Like, this is fucking heavy, and it kind of reminds me of Trivium, but it has, there's other, you hear a little Hatebreed in there, you know, you hear a lot of different stuff, but I hear the Trivium influence for sure.
Oh, yeah. Which, I mean, excuse me, it's crazy to even think that a band that, you know, like, we grew up inspired by, you know, like, it inspired someone else at the same damn time, but now, like you said, they are that legacy where they have officially been named as I was inspired to do this by Trivium.
Yeah.
They're officially a band that they've transcended their peers. You know, like, it's cool to hear that. Because, like, you know, everyone's like, oh, Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer and shit. Like, yeah, they're all great bands, and I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't inspired like crazy by Metallica, but yeah, dude, like, it is the Trivium, it is Linkin Park.
We're two generations beyond that. Like, and I think there's still going to be kids hearing Metallica or hearing Megadeth, hearing Maiden, and saying, I want to pick up a guitar, but
those bands,
now, Slipknot and Lamb of God and Trivium and Avenged Sevenfold and those bands that we grew up with, you know, I'm 30.
Yeah.
So, like, 2005, 2006, I was 10, 11. That's when I was really starting to get into music. For real, those bands that we grew up with are now at that level, you know? It's 20 years on. Ascendancy's turning 20. They're celebrating the 20th year of Ascendancy. And you know, in a few years, I wouldn't be surprised if the bands have started blowing up. I know for a fact there's bands out there that, like, Suicide Silence was their entry point, right? Or Bring Me the Horizon. Like, time moves and it's not linear, you know. There's people have I heard the Crusade from Trivium before I had ever listened to Metallica. So, you know, I got into Ascendancy, and then I got into Ember to Inferno, and I'm like, and then I hear the first song I heard was Detonation when they put it out before the Crusade came out, dude. And I was like, I like this, but I don't get it. This isn't what and I start listening to it, and I start digging into it. I listen to the whole album. I fall in love with the Crusade. And it was actually my mom that was like, if you like this, you'd really like Metallica. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, what's Metallica all about? I was in 6th grade. And now I'm a fucking thrash guy. Yeah. I consider myself a thrash drummer more than I consider myself a speed metal drummer. And I kind of just bring that to metalcore when I play metal. You know what I'm saying? Like, or whatever. But, the Crusade introduced me to thrash metal. So then I started digging into... Now I'm in middle school, and I'm digging into Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer. And then I dig a little further into, like, Overkill and Flotsam. But it was Trivium. Yeah. That was my entry point to that kind of music.
Trivium is the new gateway. I'm feeling like it used to be Avenged Sevenfold. Avenged Sevenfold used to be like, oh yeah, I like them, and that got me into name the band. But Trivium is that band now. They are like the new gateway, you know.
I agree.
They've kicked down the door for a lot of people, especially introducing them to metalcore, which is an awkward thing to label Trivium as to begin with, but tried and true, that's what they are. You know, they were responsible. I mean, even as an opening band, like people go see them. Like I was telling you before, I went to go see Trivium, but also they were sandwiched between Amon Amarth and Children of Bodom.
Yeah,
two bands that I knew nothing about and had no interest in until that night. You know, they kicked the door down as an opening band, as someone with a new fan base, exposing other people to new kinds of music, and it brought me in big. It introduced me to an entire different side of metal that I didn't even know existed.
Well, what's great about Trivium too is like right now metalcore is like the thing.
Yeah.
Like people are into the gent and the deathcore, and you know like that's the people getting into metal are probably getting into it through bands like, I don't know, like Sleep Token and like Slaughter to Prevail or Fit for an Autopsy, right? Like that's the sound in metal. I think Trivium is great because they fit right into that. They can be called metalcore, but I think they, of the big metalcore bands right now, have the most sounds. They wear their influences on their sleeve.
Yeah, they do.
In a way, like they have the biggest tie to the old school metal, like Iron Maiden and Metallica, and deeper.
Yeah.
But like Matt Heafy does his radio show now on Satellite.
Yep.
And he was bringing up like Sanctuary and Nevermore.
Shout out Chaos Hour, by the way.
The Chaos Hour. That's right, the Chaos
Great
Hour.
Show.
Fucking sick. Like, and he's talking about old school metal in a way that I don't. I watched this video. It was like Loudwire or something, and they brought on. It was a bunch of metal and hardcore bands of today.
Yeah.
Like I think Knocked Loose was one of them. Maybe Spirit Box. I don't remember exactly what bands, but they said, "What's your favorite thrash metal band?" And I gotta say, I was fucking angry because every fucking person interviewed said, "Yeah, I'm not really big into thrash metal. I like Metallica though." Like, why
Jesus.
would you? Who put this together? You know, if you brought the guys from Trivium on a question like that, they would all probably name a different thrash metal band.
Yeah, probably.
Like they could name. Like, don't be in a thrash metal video if you can only name Metallica and Slayer.
Yeah.
If you can't tell me about Overkill or Testament, you know, there's more than 2 thrash metal bands. There's more than Metallica and Slayer, and a lot of the modern metal bands just don't know about it. That's not the thing right now. Trivium knows their history.
Yeah. And
you could hear it in their music, and you could hear it in the stuff. You hear them in interviews, like they know about the previous generations of metal, and I think they're a great gateway for that. They were for me. Trivium introduced me to Metallica.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like I was a little 11-year-old shitbird, and I heard the Crusade, and that made me go check out Metallica and Megadeth, and then I eventually checked out Overkill and Flotsam and Jetsam and Testament, Death Angel, whatever. Like I'm deep in the thrash metal rabbit hole, like Forced Entry and Creator. Like I love fucking thrash metal. Trivium is a band that if you're coming from the old school metal, right? If you're from that generation and you hear Trivium, they're probably a good band to get you to try out a Lamb of God or a Fit for an Autopsy or whatever, right? But they're also good the other way.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with old school metal, Trivium, you know, you'll get into them because they have the breakdowns and shit, but they'll get you. They're the band that will make you go check out Iron Maiden.
Absolutely.
And whatever else.
Trivium actually opened for Iron Maiden.
I know.
I think
that's
few times.
That's been a dream of mine to see Maiden with Trivium as the opener.
Yeah.
But last time it happened, it was only in like the other side of the country. I forgot. I think it was I forgot who was opening instead. I think it was like Within Temptation, maybe. I'm getting confused. Shows I've been to, but
another great band.
But Trivium, yeah, awesome band. But I just to see Maiden and Trivium to me would be fucking like that's literally my top 2 favorite bands.
So, Anthony from Old Bones, Requiem of Ashes, he and I, like I said, we bonded a lot over Trivium, and there was, a day he was going to Jersey to see Trivium open up for Iron Maiden, and Trivium, they were on the rise, but they had a lot of hate at that time. The Ozfest thing had happened, and like it was just.
Are you talking about when they got banned from Ozfest? The Maiden shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they refused to take part in all that horse shit.
Yeah, no, they put, Maiden got, they were fucking throwing eggs at Maiden.
Yeah. The bands were harassing Iron Maiden, and Trivium said they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, because fucking Sharon.
Yeah.
Sharon hates Maiden.
Yeah.
And, Trivium put Maiden flags on their amps and shit.
Yeah.
They stood up for, they said, no, fuck this. We're not taking part in this bullshit. That's why I respect the fuck out of Trivium.
Yeah.
Because they were in a point where they're just starting their career, and they have this opportunity, but what they saw, this shit isn't right, so they didn't stand for it. And that's ballsy, and they did the right thing.
They absolutely did.
That was fucking bullshit.
But it also got them, opening spots for Maiden and shit. You earn respect, and they definitely earned respect. But Anthony asked me to go to the show with them. He's like, I have backstage. I bought VIP for Trivium, so I'm going to hang out with the band a little bit. And I couldn't go. Long story short, I was broke. But,
that'll do it.
My phone goes off. I'm sitting in my living room, and my phone rings, and it's Anthony calling me. And I'm like, hey, dude, what's going on? You having a good time? He's like, hey, is this Matt? I'm like, yeah, who's this? He goes, hey, it's Matt. I'm like, what? He's like, hey, it's Efi. What's going on, dude? I'm like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Anthony had you call me. He's like, yeah, man. He said you couldn't make it to the show and that you're a big fan. So, I'm just calling. I wanted to say hi, say, I wish you could have been at the show. But I'm, sitting there having this conversation with Matt Heafy on the phone. And I'm like, what is my life right now? What is Anthony's life right now? Why is
insane?
Why did he go up to his favorite band with a phone and be like, hey, call my friend real quick? That's such a
good buddy right there. That's a good buddy.
Yeah.
And that's classy that Matt actually did it. Because he was well within his right to be like, no, fuck off, I don't want to do that. But that's fucking cool of him,
Matt is such a cool guy. And, I've met him a bunch of times. And every single time, he is just, the most down-to-earth, the most genuine,
Yeah, I've never met... I want to meet Trivium, the guys in Trivium. They seem like really cool dudes.
They are.
Corey
cool
seems
guys.
like just a chill dude, Paolo, and I want to meet Alex. That guy's a monster.
I haven't met Alex, but dude, Alex is
a monster, bro.
He has no business being that good. And
he's younger than me. I think
he's very young.
I think he's I'm 30. I think he's 28 or 29, and
he's a kid, dude. And
beast.
I saw him for the first time with Battlecross. Battlecross was opening for Killswitch Engage at the Paramount, and this was their comeback with Jesse. It was the first time they had come around again with Jesse, and I see Battlecross setting up, and I've known about them for a while, so it was a bonus to me to be able to see them again.
Yeah, Battlecross is sick,
dude. Alex comes out, and his warm-ups when he's setting up the stage, his blast beats and shit, I was like, oh god, this is going to be a good show. And he's an animal. He really is. He's such a small guy, but
it's just crazy.
Second,
I'm so glad that he found Trivium and that Trivium found him,
The second Trivium picked him up, I was like, this band will never be the same again in the best way possible.
What the Dead Men say, his drumming on that record, that whole album is just incredible.
Sitting in the Sentence too.
Yeah,
God,
I like what the Dead Men say a little better because I feel like they got comfortable with him. And he
there was more of
with them.
There's more cohesion on that album for sure.
Court of the Dragon, that to me just ties it all together.
Yeah,
it's like the Sin in the Sentence and Ascendancy, but they also have that Shogun shit in there. Yeah. It's just so fucking sick.
I heard with the Sin in the Sentence, the title track is a one take from Alex.
No shit.
That he was warming up, and that was supposed to be a rehearsal take, but he nailed it. One shot, and then they ended up using that take as that was supposed to be a warm up for the album.
when Trivium had their kind of weird era, like I was still listening to them. Like I really really enjoyed Vengeance Falls. I think that's a great album, and I was into Silence in the Snow. Like
I love it.
It had to grow on me at first, but I'm like, this is damn fucking good. Like Blind Leading the Blind,
title track.
Title track was a banger. Yeah, dude, there's some good shit. But when the Sin in the Sentence, that song, what's cool about Trivium now is like you won't hear from Trivium for a while, and then shit, Trivium, like, babe, wake up, Trivium uploaded. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they'll just drop a song, and then next thing you know, they have an album announced. Like, that's just what they do. When that song came out, The Sin in the Sentence, I just remember being like, I did not, again, I'm not knocking Silence in the Snow, because I did like that album, and I was really enjoying Vengeance Falls.
Yeah.
But I did not think we were getting that kind of shit from Trivium anymore. No. Then they got Alex, and he's just...
I knew that's what we were getting when they announced Alex was the permanent drummer.
See, I didn't know about Alex.
They
said Alex... I wasn't familiar with him yet, but they said Alex Bent, formerly of Battlecross and Brain Drill, and I'm like, okay, this dude was in Battlecross. He's going to be sick, right?
Yeah.
He was in Brain Drill. He's going to be a nasty drummer.
Mm-hmm.
And then fucking The Sin in the Sentence comes out, and then Betrayer. I'm like, this is amazing. This is incredible.
See, the thing with Sin in the Sentence is that it was such a good album, and the drumming was just massive on it. But my whole thing was, I need to see him play this live.
Yeah.
I need to see him play in his typical, like, super casual, super loose Alex Bent way and nail this shit live. And they came around with Avatar and Light the Torch.
Yep, I was there. I was at that one.
That was an amazing show, but he crushed so hard. And, like, out of every single time I've seen Trivium...
They did He Who Spawned the Furies in that show. I was like, fuck, dude, I love that fucking song. So fucking heavy. And he nails it. He nails everything.
Funniest part about that show, like, I know Trivium. I know their music. Rosalie enjoys Trivium. So she went to the show with me. She also likes Avatar. She goes to the show with me. She's standing off to the side. I'm in the middle of the floor. That's where I like to be at shows. She decides that she's going to come over to me just before they start playing The Wretchedness Inside. I was like, get back over there so you can get the shit kicked out of you. Now's not the time. Wait from Heart for Your Hate or some shit. Like
that, so my girlfriend, Emily, she didn't, like, grow up with metal.
Yeah.
But she's seen Maiden with me. She's seen Trivium with me. She's seen Megadeth with me. Like, she's grown into it, you know. But the day, it was right in the middle of the pandemic, the day that What the Dead Men Say dropped.
Yeah.
We found out that day she lost one of her grandfather.
Oh shit.
And it was it was a bad day. So I was like with her. I'm just kind of hanging out with her, like, you know. But I was like, listen, are you cool if I listen to something? Like, we'll chill in the car and just... one of my favorite bands put out an album today, and I really need to listen to it. And she was like, yeah, that's cool. So she listened to it with me, What the Dead Men Say. That album's all about death.
Yeah.
And I don't think when they wrote it, they knew what was coming. The fucking... I think all that shit was written before the whole pandemic happened. Yeah. But
it was well into production.
It came out, and you know What the Dead Men Say, Catastrophe, The Ones We Leave Behind. Like these songs were like hitting home with what was going on. But for her, it hits home because that she lost someone real important to her that fucking day, and so that was her introduction to Trivium. Was What the Dead Men Say. Mm-hmm. Couple years maybe like 2 years after that, we saw them with Megadeth when they played with Hatebreed and Megadeth and Lamb of God at Jones Beach, and when they broke into What the Dead Men Say, I think it was like the second song, and she just bursted out crying, like, because to her that she thinks of that album was something she was using to cope with the death in her family, you know, and I'm like, dude, Trivium's. You're absolutely right. They're becoming that band, mm-hmm. and I'm stoked about it because I've been following them since Ascendancy. Trivium, I grew up with Trivium. Like that
Yeah.
was my childhood.
I mean, I was like a sophomore in high school when Ascendancy came out, but I could say the same thing. I grew up on that album.
Yeah.
Like it really it holds its own. First of all, you could still put that album on right now, and it still slaps.
Yeah, dude,
But-
it sounds. I think it sounds as. I feel like the songs hold up with any metalcore album coming out right now.
Absolutely.
You know, like.
And as they've gone on, they've become much better songwriters. And that's not to say they were bad songwriters then. They were still above
just-
level.
They're just a different.
But
They're like a. Because they're not really like a metalcore band.
They're not.
I think they're more of like. I would call them like a progressive metal band, maybe thrash metal.
Yeah.
You know, like they get more. They're doing something like In Waves.
Yeah.
What they were doing with In Waves is just different. Like
that was
they're-
borderline like death metal with clean vocals.
Yeah, dude.
It was gritty.
They're always doing something just a little bit different.
Yeah.
And that's why they inspire me so much. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're there and they keep up with the other metal bands around, but they're always doing something just slightly off.
Yeah.
And it just makes them stand out.
And lyrically, there's been such an evolution with Trivium. They, when they started out, it was very angsty
Yeah.
lyrics, and
They
then
were
they
also
started.
18 years old.
Well,
You know,
I mean,
when
if
were
they
writing
were
that
18,
shit.
Matt was 13. But yeah,
Yeah, I think Matt was like 17 or 18 when Ascendancy came out.
he was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
like,
he was just out of high school.
and they've grown lyrically, they've grown melodically, and like right now where they are, like I don't even feel like this band has peaked yet.
No, I think they definitely have a few more good records in them. I don't see why they would slow down now.
They're not
you
going
know,
to.
like
There's no way. I mean, right now they're on one of the most successful tours they've ever had.
yeah,
Co-headline Bullet for My Valentine, like, it's huge, and like
that's
they're-
that's another album, The Poison. That when I heard that shit, I was like, I need to join a band and I need to write songs and I need to do this.
Quick shout out to Dead Within Days too for their cover of Hand of Blood. That shit
dude.
is ridiculous.
Dead Within Days.
It's so good.
It's so good. They're phenomenal. I think what's really cool about Dead Within Days is what I said about Trivium, how they're a really good bridge between old school metal and like the modern sound. Dead
Yeah.
Within Days is that in our scene.
Yep.
They play with 7 strings and they got a lot of chugs and I don't know what tuning they play in, but they do like the low 7-string tuning type shit that a lot of the metalcore bands are doing, but they bring the melodies from like In Flames and the Gothenburg sound, and Joel comes from more of that like emo or pop punk kind of background, and they merge all that in a really cool way, and in a way that not a lot of people around here are doing for sure, and they do it really well.
I was talking to Rob a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me about Dead Within Days because I was featuring them on the top 10, and I wanted to learn more about them, and he was telling me about like what his role is with Moon Groove and all that kind of stuff, and he said like they take influence from like Bullet, from Darkest Hour, from In Flames, from At the Gates. I'm like, that's fucking crazy. Like,
You're
awesome
they're
that-
merging.
it's awesome to me that there's still bands out there that are pulling influence from these bands, and these bands have been around 20 plus years each. Especially I mean
it's
like
timeless. Yeah, I think.
In Flames and At the Gates are the two longest running bands in this genre. I think specifically like the more heavy side.
Like extreme metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to put them on a Monomarth up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
I
like-
think like 1990 they were doing that shit.
in terms of like the Gothenburg sound, right? Like
Yeah.
At the Gates was 96, In Flames was right around the same time, Amon Amarth, but like these bands are so like they have that sound, and then that went to a European sound, like more like British London area sound. Like Bullet started deriving it, it
Yeah.
made its way across the ocean here. LA developed a sound with it, Florida developed a sound, New York developed a sound, Texas developed a sound, all deriving from the same bands. And it's crazy that like whether it is a direct link or not, like maybe like let's say I don't know, band X said I was inspired by Trivium, but Trivium was inspired by In Flames and At the Gates, but then you have another band in New York that's inspired by the same two bands, and it's like You're getting 3 different sounds inspired by the same shit.
And,
It's very
like,
cool.
It gets passed down because the specific type of melodies that get used in those 3 bands we're saying, Amon Amarth,
Yeah.
plus In Flames and At the Gates of the Gothenburg sound.
Yeah.
Those melodies, there's like a cultural element to it
Yes.
that's like folk music from Sweden that they're mixing with metal,
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back 15 years, that to me goes straight back to Maiden.
Yeah.
Listen to what Maiden's guitars are doing,
Mm-hmm.
and now go back a few years before them, and you have stuff like UFO and Thin Lizzy, and just that goes back forever. Those melodies, I think Maiden honed in on those specific types of melodies, the harmonic, like real minor, natural minor sound that would go on to inspire the Gothenburg sound and eventually all the metalcore bands we're talking about. Those melodies, to me, they just invoke something. They invoke history. They invoke battle.
Mm-hmm.
They like Maiden writes all about war and history, and I think they use those sounds like the way Maiden plays it. It's very specifically like British. There's like a British and like Celtic lore to it. You know what I'm saying? And like those sounds just get passed down the generations. Like we're not inventing new notes.
Right.
There's we have 12, at least in European music. There we have our 12 notes that make up the octave.
Right.
But we take things from before and we reframe them. We're standing on the shoulders of everything that came before us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's like there's a timeless influence of just those kinds of riffs work when you're playing like fast, aggressive, heavy metal. The melodic component comes to me from Iron Maiden, and a step down from there, it comes from the Gothenburg sound. But those melodies are timeless. They work.
Yeah.
And it's cool when people are aware, like, it's, I say if you're a musician, it's good to know your history. It's I don't shade anybody. Like, okay, you heard this from Trivium. I wouldn't be like, oh well, it came from In Flames. No, I'd be like, yo, if you like that, check out In Flames.
Right.
Check out At the Gates. Just it's cool to see where it all comes from. But at the same time, you might have a band like you said that, like we know. That era, that the bands that were blowing up in 2005, Trivium, Bullet, Avenged, Shadows Fall, All That Remains, As I Lay Dying, Killswitch, they were all influenced by that.
Yeah.
And maybe the bands coming after them might have been influenced by one of the ones I just mentioned, by Killswitch, by Trivium, But somewhere they're bringing those sounds into the next era, and that will keep happening, I think. And they'll merge it with new things that come out, and new sounds will come out of that, and it's all just I enjoy that. I enjoy just you take these things that came before from here and these things that came before from there, and you merge it in a new way and try to do it and hopefully in a way that's unique to you.
All right, guys. So this will be part 1 of 2. The interview ran a little long, so instead of having the whole thing air now, I will have part 1 this week, and you'll hear part 2 next Friday with next week's episode. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. I hope you had a good time listening, and I hope you also check out Rob's podcast, The Verse, as well. Thank you for your time and your support. Everybody who listens, who likes my posts, who shares them, who tells their friends to listen, I love you all, and I appreciate you more than words can say. Doing this podcast is something that I've wanted to do for years, and it's finally a reality. So let's make it grow together. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you again on the next one. You have been listening to the Face the Music podcast. Be well, everybody. Be safe. I'll see you all soon. Peace.